Phil, welcome back, everybody.
Uh, uh,
12th of May, Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
Okay. Very good. Baruch Hashem, we're here. Now, just have to figure out where we are over here. Oh, so we were discussing whether libun is a shinui, because we had a Mishnah in Hulin about Reshis Agez, the shearings, the sheep shearings that are given to the Kohen. And libun was not a shinui. He still has to give the shearings to the Kohen. Whereas we had a Mishnah, a Brisa before, that if he did libun, so he pays kashas, the Gazlan pays kashas agzela, which indicates that it is regarded as a shinui, and therefore he doesn't have to give back the item that he stole, just pays kashas agzela. Well, that's what we're talking about, being mitzaref. Okay, so the Gemora answered, Abaye answered, Lo kasha ha Rabbi Shimon ha Rabbonan. There's a machlekes about this matter. So maybe let's read from there again. Abaye, Amar Abaye. This can be found. Abaye can be found on the 93b, and let's see, it's right smack dab in the middle of the page. The first word on the page is below. Looks to be exactly in the middle.
93B3, left-hand column, last paragraph.
thank you.
Okay, Roy, how would you like to read?
Okay. Umar Baya said, Lo kasha, it's not a contradiction. Ha Rabbi Shimon, this brisa regarding a robbery, which states that whitening constitutes a change, follows Reb Shimon. Ha Rabbanon, whereas this Mishnah regarding the first of the shearings, which states that whitening does constitute a change, follows the rabbis. The Gemara now demonstrates where we find that Reb Shimon and the rabbis dispute this matter. The Tanya was taught in a brisa concerning the first of the shearings. Gazozo Tavayo Va'arago, if he sheared the wool and then spun it or wove it, and mitztorech, it does not combine with any successive wool that he shears. Libanu, if he only whitened it, Rabbi Shimon Omer says, Ein mitztorech, that does not combine. V'chachamim amarim, but the sages say mitztoref, it does combine.
Okay, so we have to find out what's this combining have to do with the libun being a shinui. So let's take a look and see if Rashi will explain us what's the connection. So we are up to the Rashi Iber maskil ein mitzdarif.
They don't combine. Ein mitzdaref, they don't combine. The Tanan, the Shchitas Chulin. So this is where we talked about in Chulin. Mamish, Chemesh Chachelo, 5, female sheep ewes, gozot that are sheared. Kol Echad, each one is a mana and a pras. It's a measure that you have to shear. Each one is sheared that amount. Chayavot Bereshit Agaze. Once you shear that amount, you have to give. So in the first of the shearings has to go to the Kohen. That's Bereshit Agaze. For Bereshit Agaze, Mahu and Bereshit Agaze, how much is this? Agazos Racho, if someone shears a sheep, a female sheep, the Acha Shagazo, so after it's been sheared already, Notain mean Hageza. You have to give what the Kohen, you have to give what's already been sheared to the Kohen, with the Ma Shear Etzah, according to what he wants. I guess the Kohen who he wants, whichever Kohen he wants to give it to, that only Shetahei Nitna Chashuva, only if he gives him an appropriate amount, an important amount. Now, you're not going to give him a little bit, you got to give him enough. The Katani, and we taught the Im Gezo Achad with Savo, but if you sheared one of them and then you dyed it, the Chain Shnia, and also the second one, the Chain Shlishi, and also the third one, Ein Mitzdarfot, Lamano Pras. They don't combine to the amount of the mana and the pras that you have to give them. To make them chayiv. The kanu ishinu, because it is acquired with a change.
The change of doing the dyeing of the wool. So that constitutes a change that the Yisrael made in the wool, and as such, he's going to acquire it away from the mitzvah, having to give it as a mitzvah for Reishis Agaze, and so therefore, Rashi says, "Ein mitzdarfos." That amount that he died is not going to join together to make the requisite amount to give to the Kohen, so that he has a Nesina Chashuva of how much was it? A mana and a pras. Not sure exactly how much a mana and a pras is, but that's the shear. That's the shear. So we learn. So Rashi's just describing us how this word mitzdarif comes into the equation over here. So accordingly, if we take a look at this Mishnah or Brisa with the machlekes between Reb Shimon and the Chachamim, so libun, if he does libun on the wool, so Reb Shimon says that he did libun too, it's not mitzdarif, meaning it's not mitzdarif to the shear for the to give to the Kohen, because he's acquired it through the shinui that he made by doing libun on the wool. And the Chachamim, they say mitzdarif. They say no, that wool is still mitzdarif to the shear for to give to the Kohen, to the Reishis Agaze. So we see a machlekes over here between Reb Shimon and Chachamim. We see that Reb Shimon holds that libun is a shinui, and the Yisrael is koneh. I say Yisrael because he's the one who's giving the matana to the Kohen. Right. And the Chachamim say, Eino mitzdareh. I'm sorry, the Chachamim are the ones that say, yes, mitzdareh. Meaning
Okay.
to say
Now,
that they hold.
Just
What?
one comment.
Yeah.
You have to read, I'm going to read a little, you have to read a little what the Rashi says. This Einu Mitzdareh fact, this Rashi is going on the concept of Mitzdareh about the shearing in terms of giving it to other, it does, the shear, the amount you sheared from one sheep doesn't combine with the amounts that you shear from a second and a third sheep. That's what this Einim Star is part of.
Okay, very good.
So then later on, we talk about that there's no mechlokas on. The question is later on about if he did an extra step on it, about libun or dying, whether or not that combines. That's the mechlokas point. Whether it's the Eina Mistaraf is Reb Shimon, but the Chum says it does Mistaraf. That's what the end of that is saying. So there's a definite Ein Mistaraf in terms of what's going on in Chuling about shearing the Reish Gaze. About the question is whether or not wool that's whitened or dyed, whether whitened wool is Mitzdarf with unwhitened wool, which is a different thing.
Well,
Because the whitening is a shinoi. So now it's a shinoi, so it's not the same thing anymore.
Oh, you mean to say that it's not because the Yisrael is going to acquire it?
If the acquiring is the question about whether the shinoi is acquiring, that's an effect. That does affect whether or not it's a change, whether it can be combined. Once it does, whether there's change or not, that's where the question is. So Reb Shimon is saying it doesn't combine because it is a change, which means it can combine.
Okay, let me see. Just trying to understand a little bit about this din of Reshis Agez. Din zeshona midin hamishna shehuva le'el. Shekain hamishna medaberes b'makom shegozos hamesh v'chelos ukvar hitchayev samron b'Reshis Agez v'nase momon shevet hakuhuna. The Mishnah is talking in a case where the shearer has already sheared five ewes, and he's already become chayiv in the mitzvah of giving the first shearings to the Kohen, and it has become what's called mamon shevet hakahuna. It's become the property of the shevets of the kahuna. But often zeh eino niftar ela im kain sava es kol hatzemer. It's quite complicated. In that scenario, he will not be absolved. He will not be exempted of his obligation unless he dyes all of the tzemer. Achim hishta'er ma'at me'at tzemer shalot nitzba. If there's a little bit which has not been dyed, tzemer zeh eno niftar. That amount is not going to be exempt. Reu chayav litno lekohen. He has to give that amount to the kohen. Well, a brayso medabers b'makom shetzava es semer harochel harishona. That's what you're saying. The brayso is talking about a case where he has dyed the wool of the first rachel, the first female sheep. Kodem hitztarfa eleha gizas shar harachelot. Before he has been mitzaref it to the shearings of the other animals. K'shadayan lo itchayev bereshis agez, and at that point he was not yet obligated to give reshis agez. Ba'ofen zeh afilu im lo tzava es kol atzemer, and in that event, even if he doesn't dye all of the tzemer, elarak ma'at mimenu, only a small amount, a rehu patur legamre minasina, then he's completely exempt from giving. Why? Shekain kishenimsa hatzemer harishon ein matchil lachol alav chiyav reshis agez, because in that scenario, when it was at the time that it was dyed, the first shearings of the wool, the obligation of reshis agez had not yet accrued. V'shuv ein kan shiur semer chamesh rechelos shel chiyuv, and as a result of that, we don't have here a requisite shear of wool of the wool of 5 animals, which is what constitutes the chiyuv. That's what's brought over here. It's a synopsis of Tosus on the Gemora above on Samach Vav. In the not in this Masechta, I don't think it's over in Chulin. Okay, so you get an idea. It's a bit complicated. This calculation over here with the wool. You wouldn't think it would be such a complicated thing. You just shear off the wool and you give it to the Kohen, right? It's Torah, and Torah has all sorts of halachas to it, and so too does the mitzvah of reshis agez, and there's a whole Gemora in Chulin about this. So, at any rate, without really understanding it fully, but we do see that there is a machlokes over here between Reb Shimon and the Chachamim, and this that they're arguing about this, they're arguing. This much we could decipher. They're arguing about whether the act of libun, the libun which is done on this tzemer, does it constitute a shinui to undo the obligation and the chiyuv of reshis agez or not? And so it comes out that this brayso holds that the brayso before that said that libun was a kinyan, that brayso will be going according to Reb Shimon, and the Mishnah in Chulin that says that libun is not a kinyan. It's not like dyeing the wool. Libun is not a kinyan. That goes according to the view of the Chachamim. Okay. Okay, we could go further. Rava Amar. Rava's going to now provide another answer to resolve this stira between the brises. Roy, you want to continue?
Okay. Rava Amar, Rava says, Ha Vaha Rabba Shimon. Both this brisa regarding robbery and this Mishnah regarding the first of the shearings reflect the opinion of Reb Shimon. The law kasha, and there's no contradiction. Or the nafutse, this Mishnah regarding the first of the shearings, which states that whitening does not constitute change, refers to where he disentangled the wool by hand and removed the dirt particles through that method. Or the saruke, whereas this brisa regarding the robbery, which states that whitening does constitute a change, refers to where he combs the wool to remove the particles, which constitutes more of a change.
So if he, in other words, that's really what the libun is doing. Your libun is the cleaning of the wool from all the stuff that gets caught in the animals when he's walking around and everything, and you want to get all that stuff out of so all you're left with is pure wool. That's what you want to make your beged with. You don't want to make a beged that's filled with wool, which has all sorts of dirt in it and all sorts of who knows what that the animal was walking around and lying around and everything like that. And so there's two ways to do the libun. There's one way to do it by hand. So you can, with your hands, you can get out a certain amount of all the schmutz that's stuck into the wool, and that does a certain level quality of job. We would call it we give it a grade, it would probably be like a C. And then there's the type of libun that you do. You clean out all the schmutz from the wool with a comb, and now you're really able to comb it out and make it nice and clean and get all the other stuff out of there. And so that we would give that one a grade A libun. So a grade A libun is what the type of libun that Reb Shimon says constitutes a kinyan. But a grade C libun with the hands, that's not enough of a shinui that you made in the wool to say that it's going to be a shinui. So, but both brises are representing the view of Reb Shimon. Okay. Do we have any Rashi, Phil?
A couple little bits, not much. It's talking about the nafsitza, what it means, which is the untangling, the yad. It says it's by hand. The untangles by hand. Yarpier, which is the last foreign language, aloha vishinu kuleha, and this isn't such a big change. But a siroke, which is a masrake, that's doing it with a comb. So the idea is combing out your hair with a comb is a bigger change than trying to do it by yourself by your hand.
Right. Okay, good. So that's the answer given by, we had one answer for Abaye, and now Rava comes along and gave him an answer, and now we have a third answer by Rav Chia bar Avin. Roy, since you did such a good job on Amar Abaye and Amar Rava, would you like to do the third one too?
Rabbi Chia bar Avin, Omer, the this Mishnah regarding the first of the shearings, which states that whitening does not constitute a change, refers to where he merely washed the wool. Rachbarei, Kavraya, whereas this brisa regarding a robbery, which states that whitening does constitute a change, refers to where he sulfurized the wool to bleach it, put the wool in sulfur, solution of sulfur.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, it seems like, according to Reb Chia bar Abin, he didn't mention anything about Reb Shimon or Chachamim. Perhaps we can say that the Mishnah and the Brisa goes according to all opinions. Reb Shimon would agree, and the Chachamim would agree. So says Tosfos over here, I think. That's the Tosfos over here. That's what he says. Okay. Good. So now, wow, we go to Tzadi Daled. We're up to Tzadi Daled.
Yep.
Round of applause for Gimel Amid Beis. Baruch Hashem.
We're not on, we're still on Simigil.
Oh, well?
No, we're still in the middle of that. There was a Rashi there on the thing that said what you said.
Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry.
The Rashi, and when he translated that word, the kabre, and that's what he says, Bagafri. That's what he says with sulfur. Because because that really whitens it well. You know, once you put a chemical sulfur on it type of thing, it's like, I guess sulfur was the old days, what we would call bleaching it, so to speak. You know,
Yeah.
you know, it's really, you're putting a real cleaning it up.
Right. Okay, oh, so I see. That's okay, so now we are up to Hashta. Right, we're up to Hashta. Okay, is Lou available? Lou, you want to do some reading?
Sure, where are we?
We just turned the page to 93B4.
93B4.
Oh, so we can give a round of applause for 93 B3.
Hey, B3. The difficulty with Rabbi Shimon's position that whitening constitutes a change. Hashta yesh lomar tseba the Rabbi Shimon lo haya shinui. Now, can it be said that dyeing wool according to Rabbi Shimon is not a change? Libun have shinui. But whitening is a change. Can it be that dyeing is not a change and whitening is a change? Desanya, for we learned in a brisa, Gazaz Rishon Utzavao. He sheared one by one, and he dyed the first one. No, he sheared one by one and dyed each one. Rishon Utva'o. One by one, and he spun Oh, this is the second case. First case is he sheared one by one and he died. The second case is he sheared one by one and he spun the wool. Rishon va'arago, one by one, and he wove. That's a third case. Ein meets taref. They do not combine. I guess that means in all three cases, when he died, he spun, and he wove. They don't combine, meaning that he's made a change. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda Omer Mishum Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda says in the name of Rabbi Shimon, Tziva'o, if he died, meets taref. They do combine. Evidently, Rabbi Shimon maintains that even dying does not constitute a change. How then can he rule in the first brisa that whitening constitutes a change?
Okay, we got a Rashi here. Gazuz Rishon B'Tzavoi.
He sheared one by one and then he dyed it. Levad or Shegazaso Rishon. Or it's he sheared the first one Rishon one by one. The tav and he spun it. The whole shot in all time, Keshahu Gazaso, he shears it. He mishanhu. He teaches it.
Umishaneu. He changed it.
He makes a change.
It's regarded as a change when he's doing these additional malachas on the wool before he goes to the next animal to shear the next animal. He's shearing one animal, and then he's doing more malachas on that one animal before he goes to shear the next animal. If he would just go and shear, remove the wool from all these 5 rechelos all at one time, so then I believe that he would now he's got a shear of wool of 5 rechelos, which it seems from what we're learning over here, that will be the shear, that will be the requisite amount, and he'll be chayav. That'll kick in the obligation to give this wool. That this wool now is belongs to the Kohanim. He's got to give it to them because he did all of the. He did all these shearings and he sheared it all, and it got to the 5 animals, and now he's chayav. But if he doesn't do like that, but what does he do? He first shears animal number 1, and then after shearing animal number 1, before he goes to shear animal number 2, he does these malachas with the wool of animal number 1. Either he spins it, or he dyes it, or he weaves it. In all these cases, so that and then he goes and does the same thing with the second animal. So the wool from the first animal does not ever become joined to the wool of the second animal to make the shear, of shearings. The requisite amount to be higher, to give the Kohen the first shearings. So because that's what Rashi's saying over here. Kol shah shehu gozes hu mishaneu. Each time he does a shearing of this animal, then he does all these other malachas to the wool. So now he's making a shinui in the wool of that animal, and so now that wool is not going to join together with the wool of the next animal because it's he made a shinui. Okay, so that's now what but then that was what the Tanakama said. But then Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda came along and he said in the name of Rabbi Shimon that if he dyes the wool of the first animal, mitzareh. So even though before he went to shear the wool of the second animal, he dyed the shear of the first animal. So Reb Shimon ben Yehuda says in the name of Reb Shimon that will nevertheless be mitzareh. So you see over there, according to what he's saying from Reb Shimon, that Shimon holds that dyeing the wool of animal number one does not mean that he's made a shinui, a significant shinui in that wool, such that it would not join together with the wool of the second animal that he's going to shear off. And if so, then we would say all the more so. The Gemora just says that for an obvious thing that if he holds Reb Shimon that dyeing the wool does not constitute a shinui, all the more so he will hold that libun, merely cleaning the stuff out of the wool of the animal, will not constitute a shinui. So now we got a bryce over here that says that Reb Shimon holds that libun is not a shinui. So now what are we going to say about this? Amar Abaye, lo kasha. Who wants to read? Phil, you want to read?
Well, it's actually getting late already, 12:30 already.
Oh, okay. Too late. Too late to read. So it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom.
Have a
We'll
good
see
day.
you.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Phil. We'll see you tomorrow at 10:30. Is that right?
10:30. Be'ezus Hashem.
Elios.
Eliyoes.
Okay. Bye. See you.
All the best.
Okay.
Everybody have a great day and Yasher Koyach.